This cannot be.
Okay. Oh, yes. Oh. Oh. Woo. Good morning. So about 7 months ago, at the very beginning of POE2's early access, I made a video guide on everything there is to know about farming the Trial of Sekhemas for currency. Back then, it was, in my opinion, by far one of the best ways to farm currency, which persisted also through the 0.2 league as well. After going back to Sanctum for the past few days and testing the various ways of making currency with this Ascension trial, I can safely say that even now in the current league with all the changes to loot overall, the Trial of Sekhemas is still one of the best ways to actually increase your wealth in POE2. So I wanted to make a new and updated version of my Sanctum guide to refresh everyone on how to get rich with the Trial of Sekhemas. So a new player might even ask, I have painstakingly done my Ascension trial in here, why would I ever go back, and how do I even make currency while doing this? So let's start off with what actually will be your money makers while doing Sanctum. Before I go over the general money makers in Trial of Sekhemas, let me tell you about the two approaches that most people are using to make currency in here. The first approach is going to be the Relic Hunting approach. This is due to the fact that at the end of the Trial of Sekhemas, when you kill Zarok, he will always drop a unique relic. And one of these unique relics is the Desperate Alliance Vase relic, which goes for about 3 divines on the market right now. And the Relic Hunting approach is going to be mostly to have as much relic quantity as we can in here. So you can see here, every single one of my small relics in here has at least 17% increased quantity of relics dropped by monsters. So if we do this times 6 here, I have 6 small relics with all at least 17%. This gets me to over 100% in terms of increased quantity of relics dropped by monsters. This will mean Zarok will always drop an additional unique relic at the end, increasing our chances to get the Desperate Alliance relic, or even sometimes getting more than 1, getting more than 2. I have even had a triple Vase relic drop at the end. It is very rare, but it can definitely happen. Most of the time you will get 1, maybe sometimes 2, and then it is just going to be per relic. It is an immediately 3 divine profit right here. And this is apart from everything else that there is to make money on here in Trial of Sekhemas. Just doing these runs with increased quantity of relics is also always going to be a very, very good currency farm here to just then sell the Desperate Alliance relic or run it yourself. And I will show what I'll do there in the second approach here. But yes, very, very, very good way of making some currency. I am using small relics with movement speed here, and like I said, at least 17% increased quantity of relics dropped. So this is times 6. I'm going over 100%. There are also setups that are not using honor resistance at all, for example, and they are only using the increased relic quant to get even more chance to have 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 unique relics at the end. The approach that I'm using for this setup here is, like I said, movement speed, increased relic quant on the small relics, and then I have 2 amphora relics to get my honor resistance to the cap of 75, and also some additional merchant choices to make the runs even easier. So this is the first approach. This is mainly because we want the Desperate Alliance Vase relic, which will be the main part of our profit here. So this is approach number 1. The second setup is going to be the one we are then going to be using if we are doing the Desperate Alliance Vase relic in the relic altar. This is the run that I am doing 99% of the time. When I do not have enough Desperate Alliance relics myself, I just buy them on the trade side, and I mainly only do the Desperate Alliance runs. I think this is the biggest moneymaker in Trial of Sekhemas to do these, and it is always going to be that way, whether the Desperate Alliance relic is 1 divine, 2 divine, 3 divine, or even more expensive, because at the end of the trial, when we kill Zarok at the end, we will get the Against the Darkness Time Lost Diamond. The very, very bad ones are going for 2 to 3 divines because people are just reforging them. So in the worst case, you are going to be losing a little bit of currency when you don't get the right one. But there are a lot of Against the Darknesses that can go up to 100 to 200 and sometimes even more divines in terms of currency here. So this is my setup number 2 for the Desperate Alliance runs, which is my main way of doing the Trial of Sekhemas here, and I am still using the honor resistance cap of the 2 Amphora relics with the merchant choices to get me to 75% honor res and then get some additional merchant choices. Also, of course, what's in there is the Desperate Alliance Vase relic, and then I'm also going to be using the same movement speed relics in the small relic spot here. So again, movement speed and quantity of relics, because even if we do the Desperate Alliance relic run, still at the end of the trial, when we kill Zarok, he will still drop another unique relic there. And in these cases, when we get Enchanted Urn, and I will go over all the boons in the priority list a little bit later, we still have the chance to get 1 or maybe even 2 unique relics, and that can also always be the Desperate Alliance relic. So even when we are running this and we are going to be getting in Against the Darkness, and we have basically spent 3 divines on running this because we are using this one, there is a very, very good chance, or a slight chance sometimes, to get 1 back, and basically the run is just pure profit then, because anything we get in terms of the Against the Darkness Time Lost Diamond here, it's just gonna be profit. So this is, in my opinion, the main way of making very, very good amounts of currency here, because the Against the Darkness can just be absolutely insane in terms of currency. Like I said, it can go up to upwards of 200 divines for some of them. If you get one with Spirit on there, or if you get one with Gain Lightning on there, that is already going to be above 10 divines, 20 divines, depending on what is on there. So approach number 2, the Vase run, or the Against the Darkness run, however you want to call that, is with the Vase relic in here, with movement speed and quantity of relics, honor resistance, and merchant choices. And this is to get the Against the Darkness. Let's next go over the general moneymakers apart from the 2 approaches that I've shown here. So, apart from the Relic Hunting runs, where we are getting the Desperate Alliance Vase relic to make currency, or apart from the Desperate Alliance runs, where we get the Against the Darkness Time Lost Diamond, the remaining moneymakers are jewels mostly. So, apart from the Time Lost jewels in the Time Lost chest that we are also getting royal chests, which we can open with all the keys that we are getting throughout the trial. These royal chests will have normal jewels, and I don't think I have to tell you that normal jewels, especially emeralds and sapphires right now, can net you a good amount of currency depending on what's on the jewel. Like I said already, we are also having a chance to get a Time Lost chest at the end of the trial every single time, which we can open with a gold key that we have. And these ones can also have the Time Lost Sapphires, Time Lost Emeralds, and Time Lost Rubies here. Especially the Time Lost Emeralds here, depending on what's on there, can be insane amounts of currency right now. There are quite a few for the bow archetype right now, for example, for all the Deadeye builds with increased effect, with critical chance, with bow attack damage and whatever. These can go up to the hundreds of divines as well, depending on what's on there. So this is just going to be another very good moneymaker in the jewels here. The next huge moneymaker is going to be all the Spectrum Sapphires. Apart from the Royal chest, apart from the Arcanist chest, apart from the Time Lost chest, at the end of the trial, there's always a chance that you have a Spectrum chest. And in the Spectrum chest, there can be a Grand Spectrum Sapphire, a Grand Spectrum Emerald, and a Grand Spectrum Ruby. In the worst case, you get a Grand Spectrum Sapphire, which is at the time of recording around 4 divines. In the better case, you get a Emerald, which is 7 divine. And in the absolute best case, at the time of recording, you get a Grand Spectrum Ruby, which is right now 30 divines. So apart from the Relic Hunting, apart from everything like that, one of the best money makers in the Trial of Sekhemas is going to be jewels, time loss jewels, and then mainly the Grand Spectrum jewels. I will tell you the chest for the Spectrum jewels is going to be pretty rare, so don't expect to get one every 10 runs or maybe even every 20 runs. Sometimes you just get lucky, sometimes you don't. But if you get one, the best one you can get is going to be the Grand Spectrum Ruby, which is just going to be an instant 30 divine right there. The next thing that you will be able to make some very good currency on is going to be the normal relics right here. So you can see the relics that I'm using, for example, here, movement speed and quantity of relics, depending on what's on there. I can show you right here when I start my Excel exchange, which isn't started right now. So on the normal relics, you can get, for example, movement speed and quantity of relics, and these can net you a good amount as well. So you can see here 6% movement speed and 17% relic quant is going to be around 7 and 0, which is around 2.2 divines. If you luck out and you get one with 10% movement speed and 20% increased quantity of relics found, that is going to be 19 divine right here on the Earn Relic, on the Seal Relic as well. So if we check the Seal Relic as well, if we go 20% quant and 10% movement speed, 17 divine right now. It is a little bit of a thing where you will get a ton of relics of these. You will get a ton of them, and you will have to sift through them to find the very good ones. But like I said, there are very good chances that every few runs or whatever, you will get a few relics that are going to be netting a good amount of currency as well. And like I already showed, the big ones, of course, if you get 10% movement speed with 20% quantity of relics found, that is immediately at least 17-18 divines. Another thing that is an immediate 30 plus divines is going to be the Last Flame Incense Relic. The Last Flame Incense Relic is basically the same thing as the Desperate Alliance Vase Relic right here. It is a unique relic that can drop at the end. And this one is used for people who are definitely not me to then do a Temporalis run with this to get the Temporalis armor. At the time of recording, this has a value of over 35 divines. This was much higher in the previous league due to the nerfs to Temporalis and Auto Bomber not functioning the same anymore. This has lost quite some value, and I will also tell you this is very rare to get. So the Last Flame is not something that you will get like every few runs or whatever. So get ready for it. I still wanted to include it because it is always a chance that you get this one, and then it's an immediate 35 divines just on top of that. So this is the overall money makers in Trial of Sekhemas. To just reiterate again, the first money maker is if you're just doing the Relic Hunting runs to get the Desperate Alliance, and we have the setup right here. That is that is setup number 1. Setup number 2 is we run the Desperate Alliance Relic to get the Against the Darkness, and these can net up to upwards of 200 divines as well, depending on what the Against the Darkness has. So this is the Desperate Alliance one. The next moneymaker is going to be normal jewels and time loss jewels, then Spectrum Rubies or Spectrum Sapphires or Spectrum Emeralds. Also, the normal relics can be very valuable. And then lastly, the Last Flame as well. So overall, there is so many things in Trial of Sekhemas that can net your currency here. So this is all the money makers. And next thing, let's go over all the room types and boons. While you are doing Trial of Sekhemas, there's going to be a bunch of different room types and a bunch of different boons and afflictions that you will be able to choose from. And I will go over the priority for those and just show you very quickly what those are about in the next part. There are 5 different room types in the Trial of Sekhemas, which get progressively more difficult with each floor. and some of them are very, very fast, and some of them are a little bit slower every time. The first room that I'm going to talk about is going to be the escape trial. In the escape trial, you will have to disable all the death crystals before the timer runs out, and clicking on one of the death crystals shows you the location of the other nearby crystals. This is a room that is in the middle, I would say, in terms of speed. Mostly it will depend a little bit on your moves and speed, on your character, and how experienced you are at them. It is one of the rooms that I like more, definitely, because it is always going to be a little bit straightforward and always going to be pretty fast. The best room in terms of speed is always going to be the ritual room, where you just have to defeat all the ritual casters that are close to the portals. And sometimes there's even a room where it's just one big ritual in the middle, and those rooms can mostly be the absolute fastest one, with some of them being less than 10 seconds. So the ritual room always, in my opinion, always has the biggest priority if you want to go fast. Another one that is always super fast and has a very high priority in my runs in Trial of Sekhemas is the Chalice Trial, where you click on a chalice at the beginning of the trial and the chalice shows where the rares are, and then you just have to defeat the 3 rares that are in that room. So Ritual, one of the fastest, or not one of the fastest, but Ritual is always the fastest. Chalice is probably the second fastest one. The 2 slowest ones are going to be Hourglass and Gauntlet. The Hourglass trial is where you click an hourglass at the beginning of the room, and then you just need to survive until the timer runs out. And with every rare you kill while doing that, and the rare is spawning, you will take time off of the timer. So the Hourglass trial can take a little bit. It will at least take 20 to 30 seconds pretty much every single time. Unfortunately, there is a bug still in here that some of them, I think it is mainly floor 2, but sometimes when you get the Hourglass trial, the rares aren't spawning, and then you are just stuck in there for over a minute. So Hourglass trial has a very low priority in terms of rooms for me when I go through Trial of Sekhemas, because they can cost you a little bit of time, especially when you get the bug. The worst one for most people, and for me as well, I would say, is Gauntlet trial. Not because the gauntlets are super hard to do or whatever, but mostly the gauntlets are the longest one in the trial. So the gauntlet trial is where you have to find the exit of the floor, but while avoiding deadly traps, and those can be pretty easy on the first floor or on the third floor in my opinion, but the second floor probably has the worst ones, and these ones can take up to 1 minute as well, sometimes depending on which one it is. So the room types, my priority personally is Ritual as the best one, Chalice as the second best one, Escape Trial third, Hourglass fourth, and Gauntlet fifth. For the boon priority, I will go from top to bottom here on the minor boons. Of course, the major boons, which you will get from time to time, they will always be good. But mostly it will be on the minor boons right here. So starting with the minor boons, the best one, and one you should always take if you get it, and in the best case you take it first, is going to be Silver Tongue, which will get you 50% reduced merchant prices. So everything that you buy after you are gonna get Silver Tongue is going to be 50% reduced, and all the other stuff you can buy is going to be 50% less, which is always the best one to take. So Silver Tongue, priority number 1. Priority number 2 is going to be Harefoot, which gives you 40% increased movement speed. If you get this early on Trial of Sekhemas, your run is going to be much faster. So next one is going to be Enchanted Urn. This one is very important if you try to hit certain breakpoints with your Relic Wand. So let's say you, for example, have 77% increased Relic Wand due to your relics, and then you get the Enchanted Urn. This will get you over 100%, and that will guarantee you another relic dropped at the end on Zarok. So Enchanted Urn, 30% increased effect of non-unique relics, and this impacts everything that your relics have in the relic altar when you start the Trial of Sekhemas. So movement speed, honor res, merchant choices, and relic one, for example. Enchanted Urn, also very good. I would say these 3 first ones, if you see them in the merchant window, you should always take them. Apart from that, the next ones are going to be good, but not as high priority as well. So flooding rivers for more sacred water found, upward path for getting more sacred water and this scaling up on the floor, diverted river and even more sacred water in general. Getting more sacred water will mean that either you can get more boons on the merchant, or at the end of the trial you will get more keys, for example. So sacred water, getting more of that is always also going to be very, very good. Silver Chalice, Scrying Crystal, also very good. Seeing ahead on the trial map is always going to be good to get the run faster and also not running into afflictions that you might not want. And Silver Chalice, of course, will give you a major boon, basically. Balbala's Gift is something you can also always take if the next one you will be taking is going to be more in cost. So Balbala's Gift, as soon as, let's say, Balbala's Gift costs 240 sacred water and you have a boon in there that is going to be more, you can take Balbala's Gift to save some sacred water on that boon as well. So for the affliction priorities, the next one is going to be from top to bottom in terms of what you shouldn't take. So the first one is going to be Tradition's Demand, which is the merchant only offers one choice. This is one you should avoid because getting no merchant choices might mean that you have to basically not go into the next floors with any good boons or whatever, and it can just be very, very bad in terms of your trial run. Next one in the same vein is going to be Trade Tariff with 50% increased merchant prices. So these ones you should also avoid if you can. If you're already like booned up, if you have all the boons that you want, then these don't become so bad. But especially at the beginning, when you get these can make a run much, much slower because you will not be able to get the boons that I have listed in the previous one. Next one, and this one is pretty dangerous for most builds, is going to be Hungry Fangs. Hungry Fangs means that monsters remove 3% of your life, mana, and energy shield on hit. And this might on the surface not sound too bad, but some of the monsters in here have incredibly fast movement speed, basically, not movement speed, attack speed, and they basically do a bunch of attacks in a small amount of time. So you get like a large amount of small hits, and those would not usually hurt you too bad, but if you have Hungry Fangs, this can absolutely kill you depending on the build that you're playing here. So Hungry Fangs, very, very dangerous, should never take that one. Next one is going to be Forgotten Traditions. 50% reduced effect of your non-unique relics. This gets you less movement speed, this gets you less quantity, this gets you less auto resistance. So also a very, very bad one because it enables you or disables your relics by 50%. Deceptive Mirror is another one that I really, really hate taking because you are not always taken to the room you select. This can basically brick your run. You might click on the room with a good affliction or a not so bad affliction, and you get taken to the one with a very, very bad affliction, and then your run is kind of bricked. So Deceptive Mirror is something you also shouldn't take. On the sacred water thing, the low rivers is also something that is very, very bad. Getting less sacred water found might be meaning that your runs are going to be less enjoyable because you can't buy all the boons that you want, or you can't buy all the keys at the end. So less sacred water also pretty bad. All the other ones, in my opinion, are not too bad in terms of afflictions. It kind of depends a little bit on your character. Of course, if you are running an energy shield character, you should not take the one that takes 50% of your energy shield. Or if you are a full evasion character, you should not take the one that takes all of your energy shield. So that depends a little bit on the character, but most of the other afflictions are kind of fine. It depends a little bit on your experience in Trial of Sekhemas and what you are taking, especially when it comes down to the damage ones, for example. If you take the one that takes away 40% of your damage and your build is already struggling with damage in terms of killing Zarok at the end, then you should obviously not take that one. But for most builds that are breezing through this and have pretty high amounts of damage and the bosses are not too high in terms of HP pool, it is kind of fine. But if you're already struggling a little bit on damage, then of course you shouldn't take these ones. So these were all the boons and afflictions. And with that, let's finish this video by me wishing you a lot of luck in all of your Trial of Sekhemas runs. I think this is still one of the best currency makers in Path of Exile 2 right now, and you can just make bank in the trial here. I think it is also something that is super, super fun due to the different room types and due to every run being a little bit different every single time. I think this is just super, super fun. You have very, very high movement speed depending on your relics. You can just zoom straight through there. There's always the excitement factor of maybe getting a Spectrum chest or maybe getting a good against the darkness. It is just a super good way of making currency while also having, in my opinion, like some people absolutely hate Sanctum. I really, really like it. I like running through here, and I will probably do this a little bit more in this league to make some good currency. And if you want to see me doing Sanctum and me running through here and trying to beat my best times, and also maybe ask a few questions about Sanctum or whatever, if you have any questions, the best way to do that is through my Twitch stream, where I'm streaming Path of Exile 2 every single day. So let's finish off that video at that. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching. See you on the next one. Love you. Goodbye.